There's been, obviously, quite a lot of commentary about a speech that Kirsty Coventry, the new boss of the IOC, gave earlier this week in the run-up to the Winter Olympics, which are starting in Italy with an opening ceremony tonight, although curling is being played. Do you play curling, I wonder? And she said, and this is just a little bit of her speech, the Olympics must remain a place of inspiration where the athletes of the world can come together and showcase the best of our humanity. We understand politics and we know we don't operate in a vacuum, but our game is sport. That means keeping sport a neutral ground, a place where every athlete can compete freely without being held back by politics. And that has been widely interpreted, correctly or not, I don't know. I don't know what is her intention in saying those things. But it is being widely interpreted as signaling that perhaps she wouldn't mind seeing Russia back in the Olympic movement by 2028. And it's something that leaves me conflicted. I mean, I do think Russia is the aggressor in the war with Ukraine. I think Russia is an evil empire. But, America's hardly a model of moral international practice, is it? There is a significant difference in degree between then swooping in and kidnapping Nicolas Maduro and what Russia has done by invading Ukraine. Vladimir Zelensky saying earlier today 55,000 Ukrainian soldiers have lost their lives, and the figure for Russian soldiers is thought to be 4 times that. So, I mean, if America does bomb Iran, does that disqualify America from being in the Olympics? Who makes these decisions and on what grounds? I'm joined now via Zoom by Osasu Obayiuwana, who is a writer for The Guardian, an observer of London, a lawyer, and a sports and football governance expert. Osasu, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, John, from very sunny Gloucester. Not.
Ah.
How are you?
I'm conflicted, as I say. This is why I want help walking me through this ethical minefield. Is it clear for you everybody should be at the Olympics and that's it? Or are there times when a country's behavior is so offensive that it must be sanctioned from things like the Olympic movement?
Well, I'm sure you would agree that there was no way that apartheid South Africa could have remained a member of the Olympic movement when it was not giving all athletes of the same color, the same equal treatment to compete. Wouldn't you say that?
Yes.
So there goes your answer.
Okay, so there are times when a country's practices are so reprehensible that they must be sanctioned in every way possible. Then who decides and on what grounds? Why is America allowed to be a competitor in the Olympics and the Chinese are allowed to be competitor at the Olympics, but Russia is not?
Well, did you listen to the speech of the Canadian Prime Minister in Davos?
I did, and I read through it many times, and I've thought about it a lot.
So, how do you juxtapose this with this question you're asking me now?
The sort of middle power element of the speech. I'm not sure where you're
No,
going.
I'll tell you. He did say that if you are not on the table of power, then you're on the menu, right?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. He also said that the international rules-based order is obeyed by some and disobeyed by those who do not have to suffer the consequences for their disobedience. Didn't he say that?
Yes.
Okay. So, to put it in context, since we know that the strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must, unfortunately, the rules are not applied equally to everyone. And you sound like a very educated and enlightened man, so I'm sure you've read George Orwell's Animal Farm.
Yes.
Have you?
Yep, some animals
And
more
what is
equal
the...
than others.
There you go. That applies in the world of sports politics too.
But should it? I mean, what is an
Of
ideal
course he
sit?
shouldn't. Of course he shouldn't. We all know he shouldn't. If you're applying a rule based on certain parameters, then it should be applied to any country, no matter how powerful, if they have gone beyond those parameters. Doesn't need to be said. But unfortunately, realpolitik and the strict enforcement of rules without fear or favor are two different things.
So where does that leave us trying to navigate our way through this Gordian knot, or to untie this Gordian knot would be a more accurate metaphor. If the Olympic movement, if the IOC does readmit Russia, I mean, somebody has just mentioned in a WhatsApp to me that that they have, well, they are widely believed to have a program of sanctioned doping of their athletes, but so too is China widely believed to have been responsible for that, and that has led to very few consequences for the Chinese in the Olympic movement or indeed to individual Chinese athletes. China seems to be able to avoid some of the doping protocols which other countries are subjected to. So do we just, I don't know, what do we do? Help me. Don't
I wish
subject
I
me to an honors tutorial because I'm lost.
No, but we're having a conversation, aren't we? I
Yeah.
know you wanted to have an interview, but we're having a conversation. I'm a fellow journalist and broadcaster like you. So we're just having a chat. Look, I think the international sports governance chieftains, whether it's in the IOC, in FIFA, they need to enforce the rules strictly, regardless of the country involved. But unfortunately, different countries have different levels of leverage that they can deploy. And even those who govern sport are afraid of powerful countries that could actually personally target them if they decide to enforce the rules without fear or favor. That said, there are some sports governors, and I would include the FIFA president in that, who inflict wounds upon themselves when they decide to go into things that have nothing to do with sport. Obviously, there was no reason why FIFA should be instituting it for anyone and for any reason. That's what the Nobel Prizes are for. FIFA is a football organization. It's not their business to get into the business of awarding peace prizes. And then they decided to award a peace prize to a man whom this morning put out an advert in which Barack Obama and Michelle Obama were depicted as monkeys. So, what do you have to say that when the president of the United States, who is going to be who is their main partner in prosecuting the World Cup in the United States in a couple of months' time, has done that?
I'm disgusted by it. The minute I heard that they were going to institute the Peace Prize, I knew that Infantini was going to make sure it was awarded to Trump, and it disgusts me. It really, really does. Can I end our conversation, Osasu, by asking you a personal question? If Russia is admitted back into the Olympic movement, would that upset you? Personally, would you feel aggrieved by that decision? Or would you, I don't know, what's an alternative to that? Shrug your hands and say, that's, Russia's at the table of power and they were excluded for a while and they've been invited back and that's just the way the world is.
Let me try and be a bit considered in my answer. Russia invaded Ukraine. There is no doubt that they had no right to invade a sovereign state and try to conquer that sovereign state. And so the sanctions that have been imposed on them are not undeserved. That said, if you are going to do that to Russia, what are you going to do to Israel? What are you going to do to other states that have clearly engaged in acts of genocide, and gross human maltreatment of other people. So herein lies the issue. And everyone knows that a double standard is being applied. So if you're going to sanction Russia, you have to sanction all other countries that have behaved in a similar manner. If you're not prepared to punish everyone on the same standards, then why ban anybody?
I think that's where my muddled thinking was taking me, and I appreciate the chat, the chat that we've had. You've held me gently by the hand and led me into the light, and for that I am grateful. Thank you very much to Osasu Obayiuwana, who is a writer, a lawyer, a sports and football governance expert, with us via Zoom from sunny Gloucester. Who knew Gloucester could be sunny?